seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. What is going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to the show. This is On the Pipe Podcast, and I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Wednesday, April the 5th, 2023, years after zero. We are a couple days late, and I do apologize. If you saw, I put out a little message on the Instagram page, so if you're not following us on Instagram, I guess that's my preferred method of giving updates. So anytime something happens with the show, I like to put it on Instagram. Now you got the little note things in the messages where it little pops up on your little thing. I like to throw stuff in there just because not a lot of people do. So whenever you do put something in there, I feel like people see it. So that's where I tend to make updates, but I made a story about it. But nevertheless, I don't want to harp on it for too long. Just want to say sorry. And want to say thanks for being here on this Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, years after zero. I don't know where you are at in the world, but I'm in North Carolina, and it is beautiful. It was supposed to rain all day, but now the sun's come out. It's pretty humid, but other than that, it's pretty good. So enjoying the weather out here. I've been trying to move into the new space. That's why the show was late. The YouTube video that I put out. So this is kind of funny, and you may not care, but here we are. The YouTube video. I am not the best video editor. I am not the best videographer. I like to think that my video skills are pretty decent. My editing, not good. Not good at editing. I can't make the fancy looking stuff. I can't do it. So the only thing that I have to go on is time. So I can't make it look perfect, but damn it, I can get it out quick. And that seems to be the recipe for success this year so far. So that being said, Sunday night, so I went to Big Buck, came home from Big Buck, and then started editing the video. I did not finish the thumbnail and hit the final upload buttons on YouTube until 5:30 in the morning, trying to get that thing out. And I think I need to come up with a new process for that, because that also threw the entire rest of my week off all the way up until this point. But so I stayed up. Driving to Big Buck and back, I had to charge my dumbass car. So I sat up there on the car charger till about 3:30 in the morning working on the video, then came back to my house and finished up the video, and then like I said, about 5:30 is when I finally went to bed and went to sleep. So then I killed half of my day on Monday, because obviously you go to bed at 5:30, you got to sleep for a little while. But then it's just been a rush trying to move into this new studio, new shop right down the road from my house. And to be honest with you, I keep running into problem after problem after problem after problem. So Monday night, ended up working on that till about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday, same thing, spent all day doing it, came home, just dealing with a ton of issues, man. It's one thing after another. So yesterday I was just mentally exhausted. Anyway, a long story that you don't care about. The point being, I apologize that we were just now doing the weekend review on a Wednesday. It is 12 o'clock noon right now. So got up, handled some stuff this morning because it was supposed to rain. Then found out it wasn't going to rain. But anyway, before I let the rest of the day ruin me and get exhausted again and finish doing what I got to do, I wanted to jump on here because you guys deserve the content. You deserve to hear what's going on in the off-road world, and I'm here to bring it to you. So before I did anything else throughout my day, I wanted to sit down and talk about this because we got a lot to talk about. So I do want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting OTP. Our YouTube page, where the videos are coming out, been doing pretty good. Our YouTube recap videos, like I said, they're not the best. You're not going to see them in any blockbuster movies, but it's the way that I enjoy a video. I would rather watch the raw action to make it feel like you're in the woods. And that's my goal. Is like when I'm going around filming, it's like I want to make you feel like you were there. I want you to see the racing action. I want you to see and feel how the woods were and how close all the gaps were between the people. And so that is the goal that I try to bring. But I mean, the numbers are doing pretty good. We've been doing pretty good. I'll just leave it at that. So thank you for watching those videos. I've gotten a lot of messages saying about people enjoying the video. So if you do enjoy them, that's cool. Appreciate it. And thank you for the people that have let me know. If there's something you would like to see differently in the videos, also shoot me a message and let me know. That's the one thing about OTP is that I feel like I do a pretty good job of getting back to people. I can't respond in a prompt manner to everybody, but I try to respond as quickly as I can. But if you have any suggestions for the show, for the videos, anything like that, shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to read it and chat back and forth. And I appreciate the people that do jump in there and chat with me. So, yeah, you can check it out. We just hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, which blows my mind. We're over 30 million views on YouTube, which blows my mind. YouTube is one of those things that like I've always wanted to build up, and I always thought that it would be the one thing that would be hard to, well, it has been hard to do. This is a 6.5 year process that we got going on here. But one of the like you see creators and stuff get the silver play buttons and then the gold play buttons, and to me like that's always been like a goal. Like I've always wanted to do that. It seemed out of reach, and so to be halfway to that first play button goal, that halfway to 100,000 subscribers, is absolutely insane, and it blows my mind that we're here. But couldn't have done it without your support and without you guys watching along. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Getting past that, we are 115 days away from the very first ever Bite Grand Prix, the Bite GP, the Bite Mini Hare Scramble, the best in the East. However you want to say it, we're 115 days away from seeing that unfold, hopefully. Just like every single thing in my life, there's a lot of roadblocks that have come up with that, but we're trying to make it work. We're trying to make it happen. And so far we are a go, but now that we're approaching just a few months out, really trying to hammer in the details and bring you guys the information on that. But hopefully, those will be going down in North Carolina, West Virginia, and South Carolina. Excited about it. July 29th, August 12th, September 2nd, Labor Day weekend. So that is the goal. Still plan on doing it. I got to change a lot of stuff, man. From whenever we first announced it to now, just about every single thing that can change on the back end of it has changed. So I'm trying to make it work, trying to make it happen. It's tough, especially trying to run all these other businesses on the side as well. But that is the goal, and I need some more help with it, but we're trying to make it happen. So that's where we stand on that. This past weekend, we had a lot of racing that was going on. Over the weekend, there was a GNCC that happened down at the Big Buck property in Union, South Carolina. There was a hard enduro that happened out west. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well, coming up here in just a minute. And then there was also a, NGPC, National Grand Prix Championship is what that stands for. It used to be the Big Six, but there was one of those as well. So we're going to go over that too. But yeah, this was the last GNCC without Zach Osborne in it. That is right. Zach Osborne is making his triumphant return. Well, I guess it is a return. Triumphant return to off-road racing, to GNCC racing. Now, Zach Osborne was one of the major waves that broke this past offseason about him joining the Yamaha team and coming on board to race the XC2 class. Unfortunately, he got hurt, broke that elbow. He came on this very show right here and talked to us about it. And in that show, he projected that he would be coming back at Camp Coker. So spoke with him briefly, and it sounds like everything is still on track. We should see him at a Sprint Enduro, I believe, before that. And then Camp Coker GNCC will be his first XC2 start of the year of the new contract, the new team, the new bike. And, yeah, at Camp Coker. So it'll be cool to see. Hopefully we can grab one of the behind-the-scenes or the video interviews like in the race recaps. Hopefully we can get Zacho on board with that and hear how it feels to be back and see how he does. I know that was a big thing that everyone was looking forward to, myself included, and seeing how he stacked up. And now we've seen this XC2 class battling back and forth and being so competitive. So how is Zach Osborne going to fit into that mix? I'm excited to find out. We've had several different winners in the XC2 class. We've had 4 different winners in 4 different rounds in the XC1 class, and I think 3 different winners in 4 rounds in the XC2 class. So even XC3 shaking it up with a bunch of different winners as well. So it's a good year of racing. It's a good season of racing. I think that it's only going to get better as we go down this road. But let's get right into it, shall we? Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family-owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta Motorcycles are the best-looking bikes on the market, and they back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. So, yeah, I rode my Beta around at the GNCC. It was awesome. That was my first time riding it because I wanted to get some shots of it before it got dirty, so that way when we do a recap or a review video of it, I'll have all those nice and clean, crisp shots of the bike before it gets ridden and dirty and scratched. But then, after I got that out of the way, I threw a leg over it and used that to actually film the race this weekend. So it was cool. The thing felt awesome. Like, I can't wait to actually get on it and ride it a little bit more. But felt good on the bike. Leg felt decent. Leg started hurting throughout the day. Not going to lie. Knees started swelling. Leg started hurting right where the brake is. But it didn't really affect anything. It was more of like a swelling and a pressure, like where something, it's not right, but it didn't necessarily hurt, if that makes any sense. So excited to put that to the test and test it more and test the bike more. The Beta 390 that I got this year, the power feels awesome. Bike feels awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to put some motos in on that thing here very soon. This episode is also brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor and a friend of the podcast. He has been on the show before. You've heard me talk about him quite a bit, and several of you have actually signed up when opened accounts with Zach Tussle. And that's the thing. He's a racer. He's one of us. He's not some old white that's going to not care about you or anything that you got going on and just there to take your money. Zach is a racer, and he's, like I said, a good friend of ours, and we hope that he'll be a good friend of yours as well when you talk to him and figure out what he can do as far as your financial future and financial planning. If you go to financialadvisorsdenvernc.com, you can fill out some information, get a free consultation with Zach just for listening to the show. Tell him you listen to OTP and sit down, talk with him over the phone, in person, however you want to do it. He can manage your money no matter where you're at. But yeah, hear what he can do, how he can do it, and if it's right for you. And spoiler alert, it probably is. So financialadvisorsdenvernc.com, or find Zach on any of our social media, or any of your social media rather, at Zach Tussle, or it's at Tussle. If you search for Zach Tussle, you'll find it. But so yeah, other than that, OTP screen printing, been busy making shirts, been right now moving all the t-shirt equipment to the new place so we can make shirts there more efficiently. Running into some issues with the equipment as far as getting it moved, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to get it dialed in, and we're going to bring you the best quality shirts that you could possibly imagine. We don't have a website yet for OTP screen printing, so please just DM me, DM the podcast, email the podcast, or follow us at OTP screen printing, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. And then the only other thing that I wanted to touch on, and I know these ads get long, so I'm trying to figure out a more creative way to talk about it. It's also why I try to add some personal flair to it, so it's not the same robotic thing every time. But SMG is a company that I'm working on starting. It is officially a business now, an LLC. So I've done social media marketing for several companies, several local companies, car dealerships, restaurants, construction companies, that kind of thing. And because those are the markets that I know the best. Well, food, I know how to eat food, as you can tell by looking at me. But I've never worked really in the food industry. So the food one, the restaurant one, has been a bit of a learning curve, but we've been figuring it out and producing some results. And now it's become one of my favorite things to do. But I'm a product of the car business, worked in the car business for a long time. And then my most recent job, as you all know, which 1 year ago today, I walked out of. Best job I ever had. Just walked right out of it to go talk about dirt bikes and do dirt bike stuff. But I was a safety guy for construction. So I immediately went after the companies that I knew. And so I knew the ins and outs and how to tell the story, so to speak. And so those are the ones that I went after. And now that's become a large part of my actual income is doing social media marketing for businesses. So I figured it was time to branch out, make it legit, especially getting a spot on Main Street. That's one of the main things I want to focus on growing is social media management. But the one thing that I've always said, and the one thing that started this journey, is that I really wanted to do social media management for professional athletes. And that's always been kind of the goal, especially getting in at the early pioneer times of the MMA world and seeing how big the MMA media has grown. I've talked about it on the podcast before. That was a big reason why I started this podcast, is because I looked at how much media played a role in growing MMA into what it is now. There's a guy called Ariel Helwani, and I really attribute, and a lot of people would probably disagree with this, but I attribute a lot of the growth and success of MMA becoming mainstream to Ariel Helwani's coverage of MMA. And so I hope that that is the era that we are in right now with this sport that we all know and love, off-road racing, because there's never been anything like On the Pipe podcast. And now there's some people that listen to On the Pipe podcast and then talk about it later on in the week and just say the same things we say on our show. So, but I mean, that is also good because it gives you another channel, another outlet to listen to off-road, and it helps accomplish the end goal of growing the sport, growing the exposure. But that being said, to the whole social media marketing thing, businesses, I mean, the number one way you can get business is referrals, and social media is referrals on steroids, because instead of one person telling their friend about you, they can tell their Facebook feed about you, and then all of a sudden thousands of people see it. And if it's good enough, then some of those people share it, then their thousands of friends see it. So I think it's a necessity in today's day and age. And if you're one of these companies that have a ton of business and you got so much business that you're booking weeks out in advance and you're not able to get to it and you're not able to answer the phone call to take on more business, and you think that marketing is not what you need and social media marketing will do nothing for you, that is where it's actually the contrary. Because first of all, no matter what you're doing, whether you're plumbing, doing electric work, doing landscaping, doing hardscapes, whatever you're doing, you have jobs you prefer to do, and you have jobs that you hate going to. You have jobs that make you a ton of money, and you have jobs that have very low margins and don't make you a ton of money. So right now, say that 70% of your jobs are making some of the smaller profits, and then every now and then you get a big job that makes you a big chunk of money at that one time. Well, having a strong social media presence will allow you to pick and choose to take all of those big jobs. So that way, every job you're going to is one of those very profitable, high-margin jobs, rather than 60% of your time going towards little piddly jobs where you spend all the time driving out there and setting up and cleaning up than you do actually working on the job. So then you're wasting a bunch of time, and you're not making the max amount of money that you can. So if you have a strong social presence and you can build that up, then you can pick and choose and get more of those high-paying jobs and high-yield jobs that you're looking for. Not only that, it also serves as a living portfolio of your work. So that way, when you have a prospective client and they're asking about your work, you can just say, hey, look at our social media page. You can see all of our past work on there. So it's a living portfolio that you can use to show off your work, and it's also a way to market yourself and get yourself out there to anybody that is looking for that business, especially in the racing community, because so many people in the racing community own businesses, and so many people like to keep their business within this little racing community and racing family as long as they can. Me personally, if I need HVAC work, I'm calling Mike Anderson, because I know Mike Anderson from Need Prayer Racing. I know Mike Anderson from being at the racetracks, from being at Full Gas, from being at the Virginia races, North Carolina races, and everything in between. So that's who I'm calling. If I need plumbing work, I'm calling Greg Jones and Patrick Jones, because same thing, been at the racetrack, been at the Mid-East races, talk with them at the races, and you can go on and on and on and on. And that was kind of the goal with the whole race, or with the T-shirt thing, is like, hey, you need T-shirts made? I'm at the races with you. So, no, just what I'm getting at is trying to legitimize that business. So I really haven't started marketing it yet, because I wanted to get all the other stuff taken care of. But, yeah, if you see that SMG, it's Shepherdson Media Group. That's what that is all about. We're managing a couple riders' social medias right now. But like I said, the end goal is professional athlete social media management. So really taking an Instagram and growing it, because we all know how much those numbers mean in today's world with contracts and sponsors and brand deals and endorsements and all that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where, man, you're focusing on what you're doing. You're focusing on training. You're focusing on a sport. You're focusing on riding, racing, playing football, fighting, whatever it is. And that does, like, the last thing on your mind is like, oh, I really need to put a social media post out. I really need to post at a certain time with a certain way. So it really lets you take the effort out of that. So if you have been battling with getting your social media page to grow, hit me up. I'd love to help you out. I think OTP can be used as a pretty good example of it. Some of my clients, for whatever reason, don't want their stuff shared on channels outside of theirs. But, like, so for me, I used OTP as my baby, just because of the things that I've learned with it. So we got over 25,000 Instagram followers. We got over 50,000 YouTube subscribers. We got over 30 million views on YouTube. We got over 200 million views on TikTok. We got 460,000 followers on TikTok. I think we're around 25 or 30,000 followers on Facebook. So it's proven success, and it's things that I've learned. So it's stuff that I want to help you out with as well, especially athletes and businesses, especially wrapped around the racing community. So I did not mean to go in that pitch, but it just so happened. So there you are. But now we'll talk about racing, because that's what you're here for. So sorry to bore you with all that stuff, but we'll get right into GNCC. Ricky Russell is a guy that we have seen leading races, out in front of races, doing very well at races, and then suffering from some type of hardship, whether it be a mechanical failure, just something not quite going right in the race. We saw him on the podium at Big Buck, the opening round, where we learned that he was just 4 weeks removed from a shoulder surgery, broken collarbone, getting a plate in his collarbone. He said that on the podium. So for him to come back 4 weeks after that and get on the podium, and then come to Florida and run up front, and then come to Georgia and run up front, he's been right there the entire time, and he's only going to get stronger as that shoulder heals more and more and more. So we talked with him before the race and talked to him about the shoulder. He was down doing push-ups and moving it all around, and so we went up to him and spoke with him before the race, and you can see that in the YouTube video as well. But yeah, just saying that the shoulder was feeling strong, that he was feeling good, and then he went out and proved it. He checked out, like, going around filming and stuff. It's like most of the day he had a pretty good lead. Pretty commanding lead, I would say. But Ricky Russell takes his first win of this year. We saw him get his first win in 2017? 2017, I think. 2017, 2018 at Snowshoe. And then it kind of took a while to get back in the win column. And then last year, he started coming on strong at the end of the year and clicked off a couple race wins. And so trying to carry that confidence into the new year, ended up getting hurt, but got on the podium. And now, so it's been that slow build back to get back where he left last season at. But I think this is going to go a long way in doing that, because he gets that win, and he does it in pretty dominant fashion. Like, he was in control of that race from start to finish for the most part. So Ricky Russell grabs the win, wheelies across the finish line, doesn't loop it out. So we're all good to go. No harm, no foul. Keep it going. How you doing? Keep it moving. Stu Baylor, we saw him start in the back of the pack and work his way up. He picked his way up. That's how Stu does it. He just slowly picks people off one by one by one. Before you know it, he's up at the front of the pack. Him and Jordan Ashburn battled back and forth a lot. I mean, I wish there was a counter of how many times they swapped that second place spot back and forth between Stu and Jordan. I personally saw a couple of the passes, but even at the Racer TV live feed and hearing them talk about it, they swap back and forth quite a bit. But Stu ends up getting the last pass for second place and ends the race in that number 2 spot. Jordan Ashburn, the reigning defending GNCC overall champion, makes his first return to the podium in the 2023 season. One thing about Jordan is he is Mr. Consistency. He's always right around that podium or on that podium. And this year, he's fallen just shy of the podium at the previous 3 rounds. So he gets back up on the podium in the 3rd place spot. Know that's got to be a good feeling for the defending champ running the number 1 plate, but he's up there and ready to work. Craig DeLong in the number 4 spot, Ben Kelly in 5th, Strang in 6th, Johnny G in 7th, Grant Baylor in 8th. So the other highlight of the day is Lane Michael. Lane Michael is a guy that we've talked about on the podcast a bunch of times. Lane Michael is a guy that has won a Sprint Enduro championship. Lane Michael is a guy that has won an ISDE World Championship. Lane Michael is a guy that has been on that ISDE team multiple times. Lane Michael is a guy that has the sprint speed to win every race. He has the speed, but trying to put it together for those 3 hours has proven to be difficult. This time, he was running out front. He was looking good. He was riding good. He was feeling good, and ended up suffering a mechanical issue with that bike that took him out of the race, which was such a bummer to see because he was riding so good. And it was cool to see him do that as well. Another guy, Ben Nelko. Ben Nelko was running with those guys, running up with that lead pack the majority of the day as well. And then he suffers yet again another mechanical issue with that new bike. Ben Nelko has finished 1 race this year. And I don't mean to laugh when I say that, but it's 6 or 7 races in now, and he's finished 1 race. And the bike has failed him every other race. So it's one of those things where, like, for Ben Nelko, he made that switch to that team this year. And who knows what's going to happen in the offseason? Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? But going into next year, when those contracts are so little, those contracts are so few and far between, and it is a results-driven thing. There's other factors that go into that, of course, as well. But when you go back and look at the story of Ben Nelko's season this year, all you see is 2 laps here, 3 laps there, 1 test here, 3 tests here, 2 laps here, DNF there. That doesn't tell the story of how good Ben Nelko has been riding. That doesn't tell the story of the work that he's put in. That doesn't tell the story of the practice times that he's turning. That doesn't tell the story of him running with the lead packs and getting up there and battling with those guys. It doesn't tell that story. When you look at the results on paper, you just think he has a bunch of bad races in a row. And so when you start looking into next year, it's kind of a bummer to know that that's how you're going to kind of be judged. So it'd be cool to see those problems be able to work themselves out so Ben Nelko can get those finishes that he's looking for, get those finishes that he's worked for, and get those finishes that he knows that he can get. So, just got to be a very frustrating and deflating feeling knowing that you've put in the work, knowing that you have the speed, knowing that you need to be up there getting that valuable seat time to learn and grow and get better as a racer. But then seems like every race you're out of it, on the sidelines drinking beers under the tent. So just another standout ride that I thought we saw as well. And then also want to give out some T's and P's to Tebow, Trevor Bollinger, good buddy of the show. He came into this season injured, wasn't cleared to ride when he started. That led him getting into another crash early on in the season. Still not 100% recovered from either one of those, and still out there racing, and then goes out and breaks his shoulder, I believe is what he said in his post. And so, I think it was on the live feed that he said he feels like he broke his scaphoid. So, what a bummer for Trevor Bollinger. So, I want to offer T's and P's to him. He's had a rough go at it, especially in the past couple of years, but really, like, in his whole career. I mean, we did that long show and talked about his whole career and how he got to this point. So, gutted to hear that news, gutted to hear that he was out of the race with another injury. So, T's and P's out to Bollinger. Hopefully he can get healed up. And this is one of those situations where I say get back to racing as soon as possible. But honestly, man, it's one of those situations where, like, this sport demands so much physically. And if you're riding injured, you're riding hurt. And Trevor even said that he wanted to get back as soon as possible. But if you're riding injured and you're riding hurt and you can't hold on to the bike and you're dealing with these properties that we go back to year after year after year. I mean, we ride the same tracks every year. They get rough. They get bumpy. There's quads that tear them up. There's bikes that tear them up. We go back few months later, tear them up again. Like, that's a lot on the body, and especially when you're talking about your leg, which is what you hold on to the bike with, and then your arms and your shoulders, which is what your upper body holds on to the bike with. Like, I just don't see how you can go out and be competitive on the very top end with upper body and lower body injuries and still having those nagging injuries, to where, like, if you took the time to heal up fully, I think you'd be a lot more competitive. But at the same time, if you're not on the racetrack, you're not getting a paycheck. And I think that's what puts not only him in this situation, but a lot of other riders in a similar situation. So, yeah, just T's and P's out to Trevor. I know that he's going to come back as soon as possible, but I just hope that we can get a full and speedy recovery in that whole process. Looking at the XC2 class, Rui Barbosa, the captain, he gets his first career XC2 victory. I know that he's worked his butt off to get that as well. So it was a really cool moment to see him come through. He did not let off that rev limiter, I think, the whole way back to the Phoenix Racing truck. But Rui Barbosa, he's been on the podium several times. He's been right there. He's been battling for those top spots. He finally clicks off his first ever XC2 win, and he couldn't be more stoked about it. Also, Phoenix Racing probably couldn't be more stoked as well because their other rider, Cody Barnes, finished in that number 2 spot. Cody has had very strong showings this year in Sprint Enduros and GNCCs. So for him to hold on, get that number 2 spot, that was awesome to see Cody up there on the podium again this year. Liam Draper holds on to that number 3 spot. We saw those 3 guys really battling back and forth, all swapping the lead, swapping second place, swapping third place. Mason Simmons was up in that lead group most of the day as well. He ended up with a 4th place finish. Gus Reardon, who we saw win in Georgia, got 5th place this round, but he takes over the points lead. So Gus Reardon is the new points leader in that XC2 class because Lyndon Snodgrass ends the day with a 7th place finish and Ryder Lafferty a 17th place finish. So Ryder Lafferty was the points leader up until this point, has some issues out there, ends up dead last. That's a lot of points to give up. So Gus Reardon with a 5th place spot and a win at the last round and a podium before that. He moves into the points lead for the season, so he'll be running the white plates. But yeah, so like I said, Mason Simmons was up there. He had an excellent ride himself, just shy of the podium. I think that's going to make him even more hungry to grab a podium going into this next round at Camp Coker. Mason Simmons is another guy that we've seen just blazing fast, as well as Gus Reardon and really all these guys. But that XC2 battle was tight. Those dudes were together the entire time. But Rui Barbosa takes the win. Cody Barnes in 2nd. Liam Draper 3rd fastest. Toby Cleveland took the win in the XC3 class. Jack Walker in the number 2 spot. And former champ Zach Hayes takes the final podium spot with a 3rd place finish on the day. And then we look down to our top AM podium, and it was a 250A sweep. Mike DeLosa, the reigning Mid-East Pro overall champion, he takes another top AM on the year. Jason Tino, 2nd place 250A, 2nd place top amateur. And then JoJo Cunningham, his first race back, he grabs 3rd place 250A, 3rd place top amateur, just 3 months removed from a broken femur, a second broken femur. So, got to be a good feeling for JoJo to come out and pick up right where he left off and do so well after breaking that femur again coming into this season. In the WXC class, it was a tight battle. Corey Steed was out in front. Rachel Archer and them were battling just like they have been all year long. But Corey Steed ended up having an issue and did not make it to the finish line, and that gave Rachel Archer the win. So Rachel Archer wins by like 6 minutes, 5 minutes. 5 or 6 minutes. Rachel Archer takes that win. So bummer for Corey Steed. That's a battle that's going to keep happening throughout the rest of this year. So if you haven't watched that WXC race, I suggest you grab some real estate by the track and watch how that one unfolds, because these two girls are going to battle throughout the rest of the year, and they're each pushing each other to go faster and faster and faster. Rachel Goodish takes another second-place finish on the day, and Shelby Turner makes her way onto the podium with a third-place finish on the weekend. So that is GNCC. That's how that whole thing wrapped up. It was also Corey Steed's birthday, so happy birthday, Corey Steed. So maybe that's why. She just wanted to get off the track a little bit early to celebrate the birthday. But that is the way the WXC panned out, as well as the rest of your pro classes at the GNCC. We'll look now to the Snakebite U.S. Hard Enduro that happened out west. Will Reardon. Will Reardon is a guy that you see his last couple posts, and he's just very frustrated and upset with fourth place finishes. He just couldn't get out of that fourth place spot. Fourth place. He even mentioned it in his post, just another fourth place finish. Well, he comes out, capitalizes, he grabs the overall win. So huge congratulations, huge shout out to Will Reardon, grabbing that overall win, getting it done in the number one spot. Cody Webb was your second place finisher on that Sherco machine. And then third place went to Colton Haker. So that is the way that the Hard Enduro panned out. Mallory Lee was the women's pro winner. Jenny Burden in second, and Carrie Chernoff was your third place finisher in that U.S. Hard Enduro. Hard Enduro is one of those worlds, we talked to you about it after the TKO last year. It is its own world entirely. Like, it is its own subset. Those fans are not crossover fans. They are Hard Enduro fans. And it's one that I want to learn a lot more about, because like, I was stoked to see Will take the win, like buddies with all the Aussies, and we've seen Gus having success, and we've seen Mason having success, and we've seen Strang having success, and we've seen Lyndon having success, obviously, as the XC2 champ, and so it's cool to see Will do that. So I follow along with him, and mainly see that in like Cody Webb and those guys, but Hard Enduro is one of the worlds that I want to dive more into, because it is so cool. It's so interesting, and what those guys do on motorcycles absolutely blows my mind. Like, if you see the stuff that they were doing out west, like climbing up that straight up rock wall, like, dude, it makes no sense to me how they can do that on dirt bikes. So I wish I could do more justice to the Hard Enduro than just reading down the results. But for now, that's what we got, and those are your results. But hopefully, maybe we can get some boots on the ground this year and learn some more about Hard Enduro and be able to bring you some in-depth coverage about it. Because that's the thing, like, if you're not at a race, it's kind of hard to tell the story of the race, and that's why I've been so scared to get into the West Coast coverage, because I've never even been to a West Coast race. I don't know how those things work, and so the only thing I can do is get on here and read results, like I'm about to do for the NGPC series. But GNCC, I can tell you what happened out in the woods. I can tell you what was going on, what the storylines were, how the pits were, what the teams were doing, because I'm there, I'm involved, I can see it. It's hard to do that to a race that you're not at. But moving out west once again, the 29 Palms NGPC happened over the weekend as well. And Factory KTM Dante Oliveira took the overall win there. Cole Martinez on a Honda took the number 2 spot. And Austin Walton, who was also a member of the ISD team last year, he grabs third place in the pro class. Looking down at Pro 2, JP Alvarez took the win. Jack Simpson, your second place rider, and Kai Aiello takes the final podium position in that Pro 2 class. So, once again, another one. I want to get out to the West Coast. I want to see some of these races. I want to experience them, so that way I know what I'm talking about. But right now, there's your results. Sorry, doing the best I can. Michaela Nielsen takes the women's pro class win. Ava Silvestri in that number 2 spot, and Caitlin Jacobs is your third place finisher for the women out of there. We also had the VXCS that happened over this past weekend. We talked a little bit about VXCS on the last podcast, but they had another round that happened. For them, it was Graves Mountain. So it was like an apple orchard. So I saw some of the pictures, and obviously I got a lot of buddies that race that Virginia series because it's relatively local to where I'm at here in Charlotte. But, yeah, they were racing in an apple orchard, dude. and it looked like a cool spot. So mountainous terrain is what I'm told. Looks like it was like half hard enduro, half sprint enduro. But it looked like a cool property, man. That's one I wish that I could have went up to. But Matthew Howard took the win in the pro class, the overall win. But hey, listen, I gotta put a disclaimer in there. Matthew Howard, I'm sorry, bud. I don't know you. Love to meet you. Love to shake your hand. But the old champ, Robbie Norwood, he was out winning races at the GNCC. So and the last one, so the last VXCS, I brought it up, and then I didn't have all the results. I knew that Robbie Norwood won it, but I didn't have all the results, so I didn't want to like dive into it. But Robbie Norwood, he's a buddy of mine. We chat back and forth. So no, I was just messing because I was at the finish line when Robbie came through at the GNCC. But yeah, I know that he's a Virginia local legend up there, so I had to give him a shout-out when I'm going over VXCS stuff. But Matthew Howard takes the win. Colton Brown ends up in that number 2 spot. Jacob Thomas in 3rd. Adam Hollenkamp, 4th-place finisher on the day. And then Eric Scarborough rounds out the top 5 up there at the VXCS. The pro women's, it was Gracie Sheets taking the win, Sydney Early in 2nd, and Cheyenne Fry taking the final podium position for the pro women's, which it's cool to see a local series especially, but any series investing into the women's pro riders as well, and they do a payout for the pro women's. That is cool to see. That is something that I will always support because I have gotten a little bit away from it, but it's mainly because of like, dude, I've just been so scatterbrained lately. But in years past, I try to give the women just as much coverage as the men because what they're doing is absolutely so damn impressive. And the level that they are riding at, especially like you look at this past weekend, that's another perfect example of it because when you look at the morning race for the women's pro riders, this is the level that they are riding at, and this is why I think they deserve all the credit in the world. Rachel Archer took the win overall, and we've talked about it in the past, so I'm not going to harp on it, but it wasn't but a few years ago that the WXC winners were like 9th place, 10th place, 12th place, and everybody else was Sportsman A riders. But now it is very few and far between that even a Sportsman A rider can overall that race. Like, it's the women's riders. And it's not over, like, no names, too. Like, this weekend, Trail Henderson, he's been on ISDE teams. Brewer Colley, he's been around for forever. Like, they were 2nd and 3rd place, and Rachel beat him. But, I mean, we've seen current pros, we've seen former pros, we've seen all sorts of people come out and race this morning race, and the majority of the time, it's the women that are getting it done. So it's cool to see another series like VXCS that is investing into that pro women's class and keeping them with something to strive for, to compete, to make a way as a pro athlete, and have that separate pro women's payout. So yeah, that was cool to see. So that is the way that pretty much everything shook up over this past weekend. I've had several confirmed guests for the week, but I don't have any confirmed times of when we're going to do it. Overall winner this past weekend, Ricky Russell. It sounds like him and I are going to chat tomorrow. Right now, what I'm tentatively saying is that we're going to do an OTP Tuesday on a Thursday. That is the plan. Get a couple guests, have Ricky on for OTP Tuesday. Also, as soon as we get the studio up and going, we're going to have Josh Toth live in studio. So Josh Toth is someone that I've gotten a lot of messages about wanting to hear from him this year, especially with that program that he's running, all the stuff that he's doing. Because of all of that, we're going to have Toth in person. So we're waiting until they get the studio going and have him live and in studio to be able to talk with him. And that'll be its own episode. So it'll be one of the longer ones, hour, 2 hours, something like that. And really dive into what's going on and how this came about and how he's doing this year so far. So those are the things that I have on the radar. I will do my best to keep you as informed as I can of when those are coming up. I do apologize for the lapse in coverage here lately. The whole studio and office thing happened like spur of the moment, and it's been like running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to get it done. It sucks. It's right in the middle of race season because we have had so many things going on and there are so many people to talk to, but there's only so many hours in a day. But once we get that all dialed in and we're moved in there, man, look out because the content's going to be coming at you full force, especially because it's me close to home. Got our own dedicated studio space. My t-shirting printing business will be in there too, so it's very easy to just sit down, start talking to people. So yeah, be excited. Be on the lookout because OTP is about to go big, baby. That's the plan. But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson. And thank you. We'll see you when we see you, hopefully soon.